Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today is Money Monday and I'm so excited to share today's video with you. It is 4 tips on how to talk to teens or kids about money. Now these things are a few things that my husband and I wish we had had when we were growing up, and so they're really from the perspective of an adult who made a lot of money mistakes and what I wish I would have been taught as a kid. Let's go ahead and get into these tips. Okay guys, so as you know, my husband and I do follow Dave Ramsey, and because we follow him, we've also gotten to know Rachel Cruze's principles and how she was raised in the Ramsey household. And one of the main reasons why we began our financial journey was because we wanted to have options when we just started a family, right? We wanted to have options as far as if I would be working full-time and what our money situation would look like, where we would live, etc., etc. So we just wanted to be able to have options for having a family and what that would look like. And one of the most important things I think we've learned in this journey is how to talk to your children and teenagers about money. These are some principles that we are implementing with the 17-year-old who's in our house now, and that we have also started implementing and sharing with our teenagers at church as well. So we are really trying to go beyond just the scope of our own family and our own household to really empower these young people who are in our lives to take control of their finances and to know things before they become adults and have just, all of this money that they have no idea what to do with. So we're trying to set up guidelines and give them good boundaries and habits to how to handle their money. So the 4 tips that I want to share with you guys are things that we have implemented in our household with that 17-year-old guy, and things that we will also, like I said, the things that we wanted to be taught when we were young, but of course we didn't know that at the time. Okay guys, so tip number 1 is to be open and honest. We have had some money struggles, which you guys know, and so when we sat down to have a discussion with our teenager about finances, we started with our story and just shared with him where we came from and the mistakes that we made and where we are today and how we're growing and learning from those mistakes. So I know personally from just my own growing up years that when my parents were honest and open with me about a situation or an experience or why they didn't want me to do something, it made me respect that advice that they were giving me a lot more than just them saying, don't do this or do this. When you have experience and you're able to share from a place of, I've been in this position and I want to protect you from being in this spot, that really garners trust and openness. So that is our tip number 1, to be open and honest in this communication. Tip number 2 is to set expectations. Now, obviously, this is kind of a personal thing, but for me, when I start a new job, I like to know what the expectations are in order for me to get a raise or to accomplish a goal. And so why would we not want to set expectations for our kids with finances? If you just throw out all these rules, but don't tell them what you expect from them, then there's really just a bunch of rules that they're following and they don't necessarily know why or what the benefit to them is. So set expectations. One thing that we were discussing this past weekend was being able to get through college without pulling out student loan debt, right? Without getting any student loans and having that debt hanging over his head once he gets out of school. Now we know that's going to take a lot of hard work and it's going to take perseverance, but that's an expectation that's been set. So whether that comes to fruition or not, the expectation's been set. He understands where we're coming from and why, and we're able to openly share our own experiences with student loan debt, and knowing that we would have rather have worked super hard during those few years of being in college than to be living now 5 years later for me, but it can be up to 15-20 years later with student loan debt. So setting that expectation and pairing that with honesty and the open conversation is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to give lots of room for grace. Now, these are not adults that we're talking about here, right? These are students. They're learning, they're teenagers, and especially if you're starting even earlier than that with little kids, you need to give lots of room for grace and to allow them to make mistakes and to make their own decisions and to see what it feels like to blow a chunk of money rather than save it, and when they want something later, for them to reflect back and say, oh, I should have saved that money instead of buying a cheeseburger or that thing that I didn't really even use more than once. You want to give lots of room for grace because that is where we grow, right? We grow in grace. And so if we are really strict and very judgmental on decisions, then that doesn't give our kids room to grow and to make decisions and make choices on their own. All right, guys, and tip number 4 is to make it fun. Now, finances are a serious thing, but as a kid, I would say that you definitely want to make it fun. Make it something that is exciting, give them rewards, make it a challenge. Obviously, this is different for each different age group. You can, give different rewards as they get older and as their needs and their wants change, but make it fun. Find some way to make it enjoyable, not only for you, but for your child, so that they are learning and that they're embracing this process and these habits, and they find joy in them. You don't want them to get out into the real world and to hate, managing money or talking about money even. And so making it fun will help to reinforce the good habits, but it'll also make money discussions and making good money choices something that is enjoyable for them. So guys, those are the 4 tips that I have for how to talk about money with your students or your teenagers or kiddos. I would love to know what recommendations you have, because we would absolutely implement them. So definitely leave them in a comment below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you're having an amazing Monday. I'll talk to you very soon. Have a great day.